go there. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the October Bay ICT Tech Talk. And I'm Olivia Hereford, and I'm here with my colleague, Sarah Ferguson. We are the facilitators of the Tech Talks. We are with the Bay ICT Partnership. And we're pretty excited today to have Bob Zinga with us to talk about roadmaps to cybersecurity careers. And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to, I'm going to briefly introduce Bob, and he's going to tell his story. And as you've seen from our promotion, I mean, you know, Bob is very highly regarded in the cybersecurity industry. And he wrote a recent Forbes article about how to become a cybersecurity professional. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about, you know, or recap that article for us. And then he's going to share his thoughts on AI and why we all should embrace it. But I tell you, I'm really excited about having you here today, Bob. I mean, Bob is an award-winning cybersecurity visionary and a cybersecurity risk executive. I was noticing on LinkedIn that his most recent recognition is that he is a top voice for information security and leadership on LinkedIn. Hey, congratulations, Bob. That sounds like that's a new accomplishment. And but I tell you, I've known Bob for a couple of years now, and from what you'll hear from his story, that 20 years ago, cybersecurity wasn't even on his radar. So anyway, so I'm going to turn it over to Bob, and he's going to tell you a little bit about, or get started with telling you about his background and how he came to be where he is today. So Bob, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen really quick. Here we go. Let's see, share. And you should now see my desktop, right? Okay, fantastic. Okay, hello everyone. I'm really passionate about talking to each and every one of you because like Olivia says, 20, 25 years ago, I was the one on the seat where you are, wondering what am I going to do and how this is going to be possible. So first, I want to say that anything and everything is possible, and anyone who's an expert today, every single expert that you know today, when they first started, they were a novice. They didn't know anything. It took time. It took experience. On average, they say it takes about 10,000 hours. That's about five years if you do it full time to become an expert in almost anything. And what I'm saying is, if anyone can do it, you can do it too. So let's start with a quick introduction. So my name, Bob Fabien Zinga, and I go by Busy. That's my call sign or my nickname in the Navy. And here's how to properly pronounce my last name.
No, I don't think so. We need to go home now.
But I'm still working.
If you don't come out of there, I'm going to have to drag you out.
You can try, but you'll never catch me.
For God's sakes! Just come here!
Bazinga. 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 Bazinga.
Okay, my last name is Zinga, just like Bazinga. I think many people know this show. It's kind of funny, but anyway. And also, there is a Zinga company actually in Silicon Valley. I think they do software development, but I don't get any royalties or anything. But anyway, so I am a Maxwell Leadership Certified Coach. I think I was about 17 years old when I already decided to learn how to become a better leader. So leadership has been very high on my mind for a very, very long time, right? And to me, it's really the way to influence people. And I don't think you can really accomplish anything that's worthwhile if you don't know how to lead. Because I think there is a African proverb that says, right, if you want to something like if you want to do something good, You can do it all alone, but if you want to do something great, you really need to have a team, right? So you need to have people who are strong where you are weak, and you need to be able to work together to accomplish something that is bigger than all of you guys. And that's part of the reason why I really, really love the Navy or the military, because our vision is much greater than any one person can do. It really takes team effort. There is no way around that. So like Olivia said, this year I was selected as a LinkedIn top voice for both information security and leadership. And last year I was inducted into the EC Council Chief Information Security Officer Hall of Fame. They only select 50 Chief Information Security Officer around the globe, and I was lucky enough to be one of them for 2023. I am an information warfare commanding officer in the U.S. Navy. Right now, I am a CSO for Third Fleet in San Diego, and in the Navy, I've been in this month exactly 20 years. So I've been a CIO, CISO, CTO, and general manager of the Navy. I am a former CISO at Santa Clara University. I was the head of information security at Directly, a startup in San Francisco that did customer support automation using AI and machine learning. Actually, the reason why I wanted to work for that company was because I wanted to learn about AI. And I didn't really realize how big AI was going to be, but I knew it was going to be trending in the near future. So great experience there. And I was also a virtual CISO for Tremendous, meaning a fractional CISO. I had a bunch of clients as a consultant, and I would be the CISO for my client. So a little bit about my story. I was born in the Congo, that's in Central Africa. My native language is French. So I came to the US, I was 17 years old. Initially, my first dream was to become a medical doctor. That's what I wanted to be. But then I was a member of, I think it's called Alpha Epsilon Delta, the Honor Society for Pre-Med students. And my third year as a junior, we were shadowing doctors at the University Medical Center. And those doctors were like third, fourth year medical students, but they were seeing patients and prescribing medicine and all of that. Now, the one doctor I was shadowing, he really made me feel like doctors back then, that was like in the late 90s, were nothing more than glorified pharmacists, really. That year, I remember more than 100,000 people in the US died because of doctors' mistake, and some of them didn't understand how different medicine would interact with one another, just causing death that was completely unnecessary. But this one doctor, he would be with the patient and talk to the patient, kind of figure out what the symptoms were, and then he would go back to the back room, and then he would look at his black book to see, oh, this symptom, I need to prescribe this medicine. That's definitely not the type of doctor I wanted to be. Anyway, making a very, very long story short, after I graduated from college with honors, I decided not to go to medical school, but go for my PhD. So I am what you would call ABD, right? All but with this dissertation. So I almost earned a PhD in microbiology, and my original dream was to get the PhD and then go back to medical school, get the MD, and then be a doctor who I thought would better understand how the science works and not be like the one I was shadowing. But at any rate, life happened. I found myself, I was married in 2001, and we had the baby on the way in 2002, and I had to have a full-time job. So that's one of the main reasons why I didn't complete my graduate study. But anyway, I needed to have a job, and the only job I could find was IT. And that's what I did. I was a computer technician assistant. And then I kind of decided to study the Microsoft Certified System Engineer certification. It was a pretty big deal back in the 90s. And 2001, 2002, Microsoft decided to specialize in security. So I followed the security track. No, like they say, the rest is history. And then a couple of years later, after 9/11 in 2004, exactly 20 years ago, I joined the US Navy. So when I joined the Navy, I was not a US citizen yet. So even though I had a degree, I couldn't be an officer. And then when I went to boot camp, they tried to make me a petty officer, which is like E4. It's a pretty big deal when you are enlisted. But even that, I couldn't become a petty officer because I had to be eligible for a secret clearance. But if you're not a US citizen, you are not eligible for that. So basically, after boot camp, at least I went from E1 to E3. So I was a seaman. And then a year later, I became a US citizen, and I went back to the officer recruiter. I told them, hey, I told you I would be back. And it took about a year or so, and then I became an officer. And in the meantime, I was able to take the test to go from E3 to E4, which I passed very easily. But I was probably an E4 for maybe 6 or 7 months, and then the Navy promoted me from E4 all the way to O1, which is insane. Like they say, the rest is history. And today I am a senior officer in the US Navy. Now, part of my story is you should never take no for an answer, right? Because right after 9/11, I tried to join the military. I talked to the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, all of them. And pretty much they all told me to go Pakistan because I was not a permanent resident. I wasn't a US citizen. So like I said, I told them I'll be back. So when I got my green card, I became a permanent resident of the US. I went back, but they told me again, you can be an officer, you can be a petty officer, but if you want to, you can come in as a seaman recruit, which is the lowest rank in the entire military. And again, back then I was a director for IT at the University of Alabama. About 30,000 students. I had about a dozen people working for me, but it didn't matter. I started at the very, very bottom. So it was only a matter of time. So I do want to inspire you and encourage you, if you have a dream, right, keep working toward the accomplishment of that dream. Don't let anybody tell you no. If there is obstacle now, that's okay, but find a way to go around it, above it, or under it, or just blow out the obstacle all the way out. So there is a way. Where there is a will, really, truly, there is a way. I think if you want to add value to people and try to be the very best you can, a lot of people are going to come out of the woodwork and help you. But anyway, so that's part of the reason why leadership is so important to me personally. Now, I want you to listen to Dave Johnson. Anyone here knows Dave Johnson or has heard of him? He's a senior security engineer at Amazon. He's originally from Africa, just like I am, and he's going to tell you a little bit about his path, how he got to get into this security field. And I think it's going to be very insightful for you guys. So with no further ado, let's listen today.
If you're watching this right now, you're probably wondering, should I pursue a career in cybersecurity? Will learning cybersecurity skills be worth it? Or what if I get into cybersecurity and then realize that this is not the career for me? In this video, by sharing my perspective of what I wish I had known before becoming a cybersecurity engineer, I hope I can help answer these questions for you. Now, starting with my background. I was born and raised in Nigeria and moved here to continue my high school education. After graduating from high school at 16, I took a gap year to figure out what I wanted to study in college, eventually deciding on cybersecurity. Although I was enrolled in college, I didn't feel like I was learning much. The curriculum was mainly general education, and the material seemed surface level or outdated sometimes, and I knew this wasn't gonna get me far. So I decided to self-study cybersecurity. I started building my home lab, took various courses and certifications, and learned everything I needed to become a cybersecurity analyst. This led to landing my first role as a cybersecurity analyst intern at an insurance brokerage firm right before the end of my freshman year of college. From there, I continued to build my skills and took up full-time cybersecurity roles throughout college while pursuing other certifications and working on various personal projects. This eventually led to my current job as a security engineer at Amazon. Now, I've shared my background because I wish I had known earlier on that there's no single path to becoming a cybersecurity engineer or get into cybersecurity. For a long time, I've actually regretted not having a computer science background, some coding experience, or offensive security based training. Many of my peers come from these backgrounds and have sometimes felt at a disadvantage. However, after working as a cybersecurity engineer for several years, I've realized that it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, we all ended up in the same place, working at the same level, and on the same career trajectory, with some people, of course, being a bit further ahead than myself. Yes, having a computer science background can be beneficial, but there are many different paths to a cybersecurity role. This could include self-studying, certifications, personal projects, labs, and college education. And I've leveraged all of these to secure my first cybersecurity job as a college freshman, and I've continued to build my career from there. In fact, my college degree was in basic information technology. So if you're wondering whether you can become a cybersecurity engineer without a computer science degree, a cybersecurity degree, or a college degree in general, my answer is absolutely yes.
All right, I hope that is very helpful for you guys, because really everybody has their own path, right? Dave's path is very different than mine. And again, I encourage you to follow him on LinkedIn, Dave Spring Johnson, a great guy to know. and like me, is really willing and open and available to help everybody else get into this field, no? Especially for ethnic minorities and women. Because when I first got into cybersecurity 24 years ago, it was mostly white male, midlife white men only, like 90% of the people I saw. I was almost always the one and only Black person in the room. It's a lot more diverse now. I see a lot more women, and myself, I am a board director in two nonprofit organizations, and our mission is to make sure we diversify the security field. But yeah, I think it is important, and you are really able to learn as much as you can learn and really become whoever you decide to be. Now, I prepared quite a few things for my slide, but I'm going to go very quickly. I was going to talk about the importance of education, which education is important, but like they said, it's not really a requirement, especially in Silicon Valley. There is, when I went to school, for example, back in the 90s, they didn't have such a thing as a cybersecurity or a technology degree. All they had was computer science. Basically, you were going to become a programmer. That was the only option. But today, you can actually have a PhD and a master's degree in cybersecurity, which wasn't the case 25 years ago. Again, education is important, but it's not the most important thing, in my opinion. What really matters is experience. You have to work on those projects. You have to get hands-on skills. You have to prove to a prospective employer, hey, I've got what it takes. I've got some certification, I've got some knowledge, and I've got some experience to do the job, or I'm willing to learn. Because many times when I hire people, I don't always hire people who have the knowledge or who know how to do what I want them to hire for, but somebody who is hungry, right? Who has the passion, who has the dedication, and who has a very good attitude. I can use anybody like that and train them exactly in the way I want them to do the job. Sometimes when you hire people like me, who've been in the field 25 years, 27 years, we kind of are set in our ways. We do things a certain way, and we are not very likely to be adaptable. Now, I work very hard to always be adaptable, be open to and change, learn all of the new technology and everything, but some other people don't, and they are very strict. And people like that, they may not work very well in your organization, even though they have the degrees and they have the experience. So I think attitude does matter too. So very quickly then, let me go through this. Education is important. I think for an entry-level position, you don't have to have a degree, but eventually if you want to become a manager, a director, a chief information security officer, more than likely you're going to have at least a bachelor degree, or if not a MBA or a master of science. No. But like I said earlier, in this field, one reason why I love it so much is because we are always learning, right? I'm going to be a student for the rest of my life, continuous learning, because you cannot rely on the knowledge and information you had 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It becomes obsolete very quickly, especially here in Silicon Valley, where we see brand new technology innovation like every six months to 12 months. You really have to keep up with technology. All right, so you need to have some type of foundational knowledge, work on some certification as well. I think CISSP is still the gold standard for information security. However, for you guys just getting started, I want you to really focus on Security Plus. I think that is the most important certification for someone who wants to get in this field. CompTIA Security Plus, you guys know about it? Okay, that's very important in my opinion, because you are showing a prospective employer that you've taken time out of your schedule to actually study and learn the foundational domain of cyber security. You are willing to learn and really put some sweat into this. So there are some relevant degree programs now that didn't exist 20 years ago. You can actually have a cybersecurity as a major, which is pretty wonderful. This certification again, CompTIA Security Plus is the one I recommend for those getting started. There are also some boot camps you can go to. Usually it's about a week or so, and you go through the entire curriculum for like CompTIA Security Plus, and then at the end of the boot camp, they give you an exam, and if you pass the exam, you become certified. I've used some boot camps in the past. Sometimes they are good. Sometimes they may be too expensive, but it really depends on how you learn. But definitely one option. So continuous skill development, very important. Not only learning about technology, but technology is not the only thing you need to be aware of or you need to be good at. Right? There are some soft skills you need to learn along the way, like they said earlier, right? Everybody has their own path, but you don't have to have a degree and you don't have to be highly technical because you can always learn that. There is a lot more to cybersecurity than technical skills, especially when you become like I've been blessed to be chief information security officer. You have to understand the business also, right? Not only technical skill, but you have to understand the business, being able to influence people who don't report directly to you, being able to influence your peers, the leaders of the other function within the organization. Because sometimes you may not have enough budget. You're going to have to borrow a budget from somebody else, maybe from engineering, maybe from HR, or maybe from business ops, but you need to be able to talk with them and influence them to do the right thing for the organization. So there is a lot to think about above and beyond just technical skill. And then you also need to be able to network with people. Very important. LinkedIn is my #1 social media network. I'm on LinkedIn pretty much every single day. That's how I have been able to meet people. Pretty much all of the jobs I've had in the past, they all came through LinkedIn. Right now, I am completely maxed out with all of my connection, which is 30,000. So I cannot add anybody else as a direct connection. But if I find somebody like Olivia and she's so special, I have to connect with her, then I have to remove somebody from my network in order to connect with her. But otherwise, just follow me, right? So that's the way it is. So I have 30,000 people I am connected to, and then 32,000 who follow me. So a total of 62,000 people that I can reach out to with just the power of a post. So when I'm applying for a job, more than likely, I already know somebody who works for that company, because I'm pretty much connected to anybody with anyone in the military, the US government, and the IT industry. And that really helps when you're looking for a job to know somebody who works there who can tell you the truth about the culture, how things are, but also to get a recommendation from the inside, right? It's not just somebody coming off the street saying, oh, I am qualified, I am certified, please give me a job. It is someone within the company who says, I know Bob Fabien Zinga, he's a good guy, we absolutely have to hire him. That really makes a huge difference. So network, very, very important. All right, we are running out of time. Programming is one way to undo it, but networking knowledge is very important. Analytical skills, like when I was coming through this, even now as an information warfare officer in my field in the Navy, we really encourage people who have a STEM degree, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math. That's pretty much everybody who's an IP officer, that's the path they have chosen. But I think it's kind of a mistake, though, because I think art is very important too. You can be a musician or be passionate about music or art or history or anything else and still have room for you right here in this field, right? Because again, not everything we do is extremely technical. We need people who are able to also tell a story, right? Even this presentation, for me to be effective, I need to tell you a story that makes sense to you. We need people who understand the English language as well. Because I think part of the problem I've seen in Silicon Valley is getting better now, but like I say, for a long time, it was mostly white male in this field, and most of them in Silicon Valley, they come from the same school. It's like Berkeley, Stanford, STEM exact school. So you go to a company and everybody comes from the same background, so they all think alike. And that's a huge problem because they all have the same blind spot. But when you diversify, you get people from different backgrounds, from community college, black, white, female, then you get a perspective you would have completely missed. And that's going to save you a lot of money and make you a lot more effective. So I am really for having diversity, not just for diversity's sake, but because it really adds to the bottom line. So I am almost out of time here. Let me just go a couple
Bob,
more.
I'm gonna stop you for a second. This is really great. So please continue on. Don't use that 6:30 as a stopping point. Take your time because your words are really important and we want to hear them all. So keep on going.
But I'm going to do this quick. So IT fundamental. Again, I'm going to send you back to CompTIA Security Plus. I think CompTIA needs to pay me. I've been telling everybody about taking that test, and it's important. Now, when I first started in this field, it was extremely important for me to get it right. But today, after 20 years, after being a leader and executive in this field, I don't need CompTIA Security Plus anymore. I'm going to let my certification expire, except I did mine before they started the CEUs. So mine is forever, so I don't have to worry about it. But the certification, I would absolutely not let go CISSP and CCISO. Those I'm going to keep until I die. So I'm going to keep paying the annual fee or whatever they need me to do, because if those certification drop from my resume, it's going to be very difficult for me to get them back. Because I got CSSP back in 2009, and for about 12 years, I was among the small group that decided which question would be on the test. And I must tell you, we made that test very, very, very difficult. So difficult that a couple of times when we were going through the camp to decide which question would be on the test, they allowed us to take the new test. It was maybe about 15 of us. All of us, we had at least 10, 15 years experience. Together in that room, probably 200 years of experience in cyber security. But guess what? Only about half of us passed the test. And those who passed, they barely passed. So that's why I would never take that test ever again. So I'm going to continue paying my fee for CISSP. But all of my other certs, I have more than 30 of them. They can expire. Absolutely do not care. I needed them again 20 years ago, but today I absolutely do not need them. But again, go for CompTIA, Security Plus, and then work toward CISSP because that's still the gold standard. So soft skill I mentioned earlier, you really need to develop your communication skills and networking. You need to know people, right? Because people are those who decide who they're going to hire. People are those who are going to decide if they're going to promote you. People are those who decide if you're going to be included in a project. So if they trust you, if they have a rapport with you, it's going to make your career so much easier and open a lot of doors, right? One of my mentors told me, what you really want to do is to have a sponsor who's going to talk good about you in rooms where you are not present. That's really what makes a career. When you have sponsors, you have mentors, you have people who like you and who want to promote you and say all kinds of good things about you and give you the opportunity to learn and to add value. So building professional networks. So hopefully each one of you have a mentor. Very, very important to know someone who's done what you're trying to do, because really in life, there are only two ways to learn, right? Either you learn trial and error, you make mistakes and you learn from those mistakes, but that's very, very painful and time consuming. I like the other way better. Again, when I was 17 is where I really took self-development very seriously. I have so many mentors and I can learn from their mistakes, right? Somebody else made a mistake and they got life lessons out of it. Let me just get the gold, let me get the lesson, and I don't have to go through the pain. Right? I think that's much smarter. So find a mentor and find many mentors. I have all kinds of mentors now. For example, my leadership mentor is Dr. Maxwell. I have a success mentor, Darren Hardy. So I have many mentors. I have mentors within the IP community in the Navy. And I also have mentors who are not in my community, but who are just great officers I respect. And I would like to emulate them. So I go to them and I say, can we start a relationship? Can I ask you a question? Can I get 10, 15 minutes of your time? Can I buy you lunch? And just so that I can learn from their experience, right? Now, when you go through mentorship, you also have to make sure not to be a parasite, right? A parasite wants to take what the mentor has earned. That's not what I want. I don't want what my mentor has earned. I want what my mentor has learned. I want his knowledge, not his possession, right? So don't be a parasite. You have to respect them, really value the time that you spend with them. But really, when they talk, you need to listen. Sometimes some people I'm trying to mentor, I'm telling them something important that could change the rest of their life, but they keep interrupting me and speaking. I'm like, okay, if you want to speak, why in the world am I here? Go ahead and try to figure it out yourself. If I take the time to talk to you, like today, for example, I talked to a lady who lives in London. Because of the technology and LinkedIn, I was able to talk to her. She wants to get into the IT field and eventually move to California. So I gave her 30 minutes of my time. But when I'm speaking, I'm hoping she's taking notes, because what I'm telling her is not just something I've learned yesterday, but for the last 20, 25 years of my life and my experience in IT in Silicon Valley. So when your mentor tells you something, shut up and listen. Right? Listen twice as much as you speak, for sure. And then the other thing is, you don't always have to do what your mentor say, right? Because sometimes you may have your own idea, which is fine. But minimum, I think you have to listen and really consider it. And if you do something other than what your mentor has said, no, do it at your own peril. But definitely, it is your right, but show them the respect. Anyway, I've written an article about mentorship on LinkedIn. I said mentorship was really a master key to success to me. I encourage you to read that. Maybe when I find it, I'm going to add the link here. But mentorship is key. I've learned so much, and I've been helped so much throughout my career by people who've been there before me and who have taken the time to help me out and really made a way for me. And I cannot pay all of those people back. It's just impossible. But what I can do is help somebody else. And that's part of the reason why I am here today, so I can talk to you, try to share some of the knowledge I have learned to the next generation of information security professionals. So I'm talking about you. All right, really quickly, give me 2 more minutes and I'm gonna be done with this. Going to industry conferences and events, that's very important. That's how you meet people. Online engagement like we are having now, very important, building professional relationship. But really the most important thing I believe is gaining hands-on experience, right? Because when I want to hire someone, I really want to hire somebody who has the skill to do the job that needs to be done like yesterday, right? But experience, I think, trumps education every single time. But education is important, but I think experience is even more important. And sometimes you may have to volunteer where you don't get paid, but you are building a portfolio of projects and you are getting experience and you can show that to people. Even have an internship that helps, right? Cybersecurity competition, if you win some of those, like a couple of years ago, I used to be one of the voting members for the National Cybersecurity, what's it called? NCCDC, National Cybersecurity Collegiate Competition. Anyway, they split the US into 10 separate regions, and then the grand final happened in San Antonio, Texas, every single year. And some of the people who would win the competition, they had job offers from Raytheon and a lot of the Fortune 500 business, including Walmart, on the spot. So this definitely could open up a lot of doors for you if you become good at it. Again, networking. So volunteering for nonprofit and community projects, again, just so that you get hands-on experience. Very, very important. So hands-on practice, always upskilling and reskilling. And like I've said earlier, for the rest of your life in this field, you are going to be a student for life, continuous learning. Right? It's not like my grandparents when they went to school and then they got their degree, they didn't have to read another book anymore. They didn't have to study anything. For the rest of their life, the next 20, 25 years, they work for one company and then they retire. Those days are gone. Now you really have to keep up with the technology. Absolutely have to. So a little bit about the job market. Make sure to look at the job description, right? If you have a job now and you know you want, let's say you are an information security analyst or engineer now, but you want to become a manager or a director or a vice president, you need to look at the job description for manager. See, okay, what's the difference between the manager's job and my job? What is the delta? And then what do I need to do to get those skills, to get that knowledge, in the next 2 or 3 or 5 years, so I am now eligible for the manager job, right? For the next level. That's something I did when I started 24 years ago. Always trying to figure out what is the next level and what are the requirements, how does it differ with what I have now? What is the delta and what do I need to do in order to learn it? Because anything that anybody is an expert in, like I said earlier, is learnable. You can learn it, but you just have to dedicate time, energy to do so. And then when you apply for a job, make sure that your resume is tailored to each specific job. Don't just have a generic resume, I want a job, because many times the hiring manager will not even see your resume because HR kicked it out, right? And sometimes now they don't even have human being. It's ATS system. AI is the one who decides. So you want to have a keyword for each job description in your resume showing that you meet the requirement of the job. So you tailor each job and each cover letter for each specific job. And now if you don't know how to write a cover letter, just use ChatGPT. ChatGPT will do an excellent job for you. Just tell them, hey, ChatGPT, this is the job I want to apply for. Here's my resume. What should my cover letter be like? ChatGPT will write that for you. So things are getting easier and easier, but you really need to take the time. I think this is important, because if you are applying for a job to be a cybersecurity analyst, why do I need to know that you were flipping burgers at McDonald's? What does that have to do with anything, right? So you really have to tailor it to the job you are applying for. So there are things you can also do to prepare for technical interviews. I won't have time to go through on this, but job boards, to me, LinkedIn is number one. If you go to LinkedIn, the type of job you want, the location, LinkedIn will show you more than 30,000 jobs for entry-level position for IT professional. So always identifying opportunity is important. I think trying to add value, also assessing trends, right? Like earlier, as I said, back in 2018, right, I kind of knew AI was going to be a big thing, and I completely changed jobs to go for a company that did nothing but AI, so I could learn it. So knowing what the trends are, what is going to be important, not now that you're in school, but when you get out, and trying to learn that today. That's going to make a big difference. Networking, asking question, and continuing education and certification. To me, certification is no longer important, but continuing education is, right? Always learning, going to conferences, seeing what the best security practices are now, because they are always changing. I am almost done, but sometimes as a cybersecurity expert, you can have general knowledge, be the jack of all trades, but sometimes you may want to specialize in a very specific field, whether it's forensic or incident response or whatever it might be. It depends on what you like as well. So there are really a whole lot of options for you out there. So really, if you are looking for a job, professional reputation, it's about trust and credibility, right? And you're gonna have advancement opportunities, but it's really about networking and influence. People who interview you, people who know you, must like you so that they would make opportunities available for you. Some of the best jobs I ever had were never advertised. Nobody else applied for the job but me, because they had me in mind when the position was just a thought in the hiring manager. And that only works with networking when you know people, right? All right, so I am finally at the end. Sorry, I went about 10 minutes over, but basically cybersecurity is pretty much gives you job security, pretty much, right? Because of the rising cyber threat. There will always be threats. And as soon as we get an handle on what the threats are, the bad guys don't just give up and take a vacation and retire. No, they're gonna come back and find something else. So it's like a cat and mouse type of game. So I always have to learn and always increase my skills, always. So that is great because that means there's gonna be opportunity for me somewhere, right? And then the job market is really growing. As of last year, I think globally we needed more than 2 million people with cyber security skills. They had more than 2 million jobs they couldn't fill because they didn't have qualified people to get into those positions. So I am very excited that you want to be part of this industry. And I do want to help any way I can, and I'm now open for any questions you might have.
Wow, Bob, that was fantastic.
Thank you.
And if you could go to we'll just show it real quick, that the Q&A slide. Bob, you answered my starter question already, and
Good.
that was, how do our aspiring professionals get past the whole expectation of the education required to get skills. So you answered that question. We can skip that. And based on one of the things that I clearly heard today, that one of the most important skills that you could bring to get this experience is leadership. Okay.
Yes.
And my question to you would be, well, I say I'm a student right now in Sam Bone's cybersecurity class, and I've got my Security Plus. I've even got some of the Microsoft certifications. How do what do I have to do now to develop those leadership skills? I mean, how do I get those? How do I get those opportunities?
Okay. For me, I was really lucky and blessed to join the U.S. Navy. I think I said earlier when I was 17, right? That's when I felt like leadership, technology, and business skills would be really important in the next century and millennium. That was like in the late 90s. And for leadership, I tried to join the ROTC program at the University of Alabama. Those people would go through the program on campus, and then once they graduate, they become Army officers. But I just wanted to do it just to learn leadership. So I went there with my accent. It was much worse than it is now. And the guy was like, "Okay, you're not even a US citizen. No. Go pack sand." I'm like, "Okay, thank you, sir. Maybe in the future I will find a way to come back." Again, never take no for an answer. But when it comes to leadership, I said the leadership is influence, right? That's what Dr. Maxwell says. Nothing more, nothing less. It's really about influencing people. But I think the first person you need to influence is the person in the mirror. That's you. You have to be able to lead yourself, right? To be a leader, you don't always have to have people follow you. You need to be able to get yourself to do what you need to do when you need to do it, whether you feel like it or not. That's leadership.
Yes. Yes.
Showing up on time. In the military, you have to show up 15 minutes before the scheduled meeting is supposed to be, or you are late. Just being present and learning, that's leadership. Just showing up sometimes will take you more than half the way there. Being interested, working hard, but doing everything you are supposed to do when you need to do it. Lead yourself, get the certification, finish your degree, pay the price now, because what you're doing, I think Oprah is the one who said that success is when, right, preparation meets opportunity. So you have to prepare now for the opportunity of tomorrow. That's what leadership is all about. But it's also about influencing people. So starting with yourself, but also your colleagues, your boss, and then when you become a manager, the people under you, building those relationships. Like long time ago in the IT security field, we need to be called the Department of No, right? Business leaders will come, hey, we want to do this, we have this great project. We will say, no, can do, too much risk, cannot do, no. Well, now I know better. It's not that I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say, okay, let me find a way to say yes. How can we manage the risk, right? That is the way you're thinking. You are influencing people. You are helping people achieve their goal. You are not an obstacle to them, right? So there is a lot of give and take. And I think when you are resolute, determined, you want to do something, you are going somewhere, your network of people around you, they're going to see that and they're going to come to your help. Right? When they know that you are serious and they are not going to be wasting time on you. Right? I think it was JFK, JFK who said, failure is an orphan, but success has many fathers, right? When you are successful, or when people think you are going to be successful, they want to help you. Because how would it feel if you could say, hey, President Barack Obama, I remember where he was a student at Harvard and he didn't know anybody, was a nobody. Today he's president and I helped him. See, that is huge. So people, they see you now and they can see your potential, what you can become, and they want to help you so that one day they can say, hey, I knew busy and I helped him out. He was a seaman and now he's a commander, he's a commanding officer in the US Navy, the most powerful Navy in the world. And they are glad and they are proud. And I am glad that they are glad that they gave me a chance, right? So being resolute, getting yourself to do what you need to do every single time, no matter what. I think that's going to take you a very, very long way.
That's a great answer. So my father was State Department and my husband's father was a Navy captain. And exactly what you just said, if you are on time, you are late. Like we have like anxiety getting to places on time. Yes. So there is a question in the chat. What major pros, cons have you found working in both the private and public sectors?
Okay, that is a great question. Before I answer that, something else just came to mind for the student. You may want to consider working for the military. That's the path I chose you. You don't have to, but you may want to consider that, because the military is going to pay for your education and training. You don't have to know anything. They will train you into IT. They may not pay as well as the industry, but they have the really great benefit. And once you get out of the military, you can double, triple whatever the military pays. And then you may also want to consider working for a DoD contractor, right? Because those contractors, they always need people with a lot of skill to do work for the government or for the DoD. And those are great ways to learn. And then also consider working for a consulting firm, right? Where you don't just work for one company, but you are a consultant to a lot of companies. I did that for about three years, but really, if you look at all of the experience, everything I've learned, it's probably equivalent to 5 to 7 years for one company, because you are exposed to a lot of technology, different tech stack, and you really learn a lot. So just things for you to consider. Okay, one question between public service and the industry. Well, the industry generally pays a lot better. Like even now, as a commander 05, I am only 2 promotions away from becoming an admiral, the equivalent of a general in the other services. But my job in Silicon Valley pays me more than double what the Navy pays me full-time on active duty. So it doesn't pay as well, but again, like I say, the benefits are just outstanding. Like there is no way I would be a homeowner in Silicon Valley today if I didn't have a VA mortgage. Just no way, right? It doesn't matter how much money you make. Prices in California is just crazy. But anyway, having said that, another thing I really love about the military, which again, I've been in the Navy for 20 years now, and my wife, who was my commander at home, has ordered me to retire. So I'm going to be working towards that. But one thing I think that is extremely important is when you are in the military, you really work for something that is bigger than yourself, right? It's not about me, myself, and I. What you are really working towards national security. You know, we go to war to fight for the democracy and the freedom of people. No? Like the great generation, they went to Europe during World War I, World War II, and they fought for somebody else's freedom. So it's I don't know which word to use. Amazing. So I guess sometimes I am in awe, because sometimes when I am on active duty order and I do what I do for the Navy, and then I come back as a civilian, it's almost like being Superman and Clark Kent. Like there is a big difference. What is important and what really matters, right? Because especially in the military, it's possible that the person to your right or to your left may not come home with you, right? So the stakes are extremely high. Whereas, no, in Silicon Valley, right, if you mess up something or whatever, what's the worst that can happen? Like you lose money? I mean, there is really no comparison. So that's why even now, as I am retiring from the Navy, I am looking for my next gig in the industry. But I don't just want to work for any company, right? I want to work for a company that doesn't just want to make money, which, you know, money is fine, there is nothing wrong with it, but also really want to make a difference, help improve this community, make it better than we first found it. That's something you always see in the military, that esprit de corps. We are working for a purpose that is greater than all of us put together. Whereas in the industry, generally speaking, people tend to be very arrogant and selfish and really focus only about money over people. That has been my experience.
Thank you for that. There's another question. It's twofold. The first one is the presentation that you gave. Is that something that you can share with Olivia and and we can push it out to people, or is that?
I can. I usually don't like to do that, but yes, I will make an exception. Yes.
It was a really awesome presentation. And then secondly, you touched on ways to create diversity within the field. You know, what are, like, you had said diversity is needed, but like, what are some concrete ways that piece can happen?
This is great. I actually wrote an article for the Cybersecurity magazine about diversity in cybersecurity. It's kind of sad. Again, things are changing now. I've seen a lot of improvement, especially more women in cybersecurity than there were 10, 15 years ago. But I think we are still needing more ethnic diversity in this field. One of the way I think that helped me with making my organization more diverse is when you're hiring, try to not look at the demographic information like people's name and where they are from and so forth, male or female. Just remove that. Just look at their experience and their qualification, and then you decide which one is better, which one deserve an interview. Because we also have unconscious biases, right? You may see somebody's name like, oh, this sounds foreigner, maybe I don't want to hire this person, or this sounds like a woman's name, or whatever the case might be. So try to really be objective and just look at the qualification of the people. But I think you also, as an organization, need to reach out, right? Because diversity doesn't just happen by itself, right? You have to be intentional. You have to have a vision. You have to have a goal and really make it happen. Reach out to like HBCUs, right? It's historically Black colleges. Reach out to community colleges. There are a bunch of people there who are ready to work and who do very well, right? And it's especially too, in my own experience, when you've hired someone who maybe on paper wasn't quite qualified based on the job description, but again, they have that desire to learn, they have a great attitude, and you can teach them. Usually those people, they stay with you for life. Like they're gonna follow you wherever you go because you gave them a chance. So really, what I'm saying is give somebody a chance. Try to hire someone who doesn't look like you and didn't have the same background as you. That's really going to make your team stronger. So a couple of things that might be helpful.
Awesome.
Bob,
Thank you.
there is one thing that on the leadership thing, I just want to go back to that because I just want to make sure that wasn't lost on the people that are here and will listen to this recording. Leadership does not really have to have, quote unquote, the responsibility specifically defined as leader. If you are accountable for something, if you have a responsibility that to be done, that other people are depending upon, you don't need leader in your talent, in your title. You are a leader because you've taken that responsibility.
Yes.
So anyway, I really think that a lot of people think they're going to associate, getting leadership skills with having that leader talent. We all are leaders if we're accountable and responsible. But anyway, one final question.
Yes.
I noticed that in your credentials, you have a PMP.
Yes.
Project management, I think, is a
Yes.
really good entry into the cybersecurity field. What are your comments on that?
Yeah, so PMP, CISO, and CISSP, those are the free certification I will never let expire. Because all of them, they take about 2 to 3 hours to take the exam. They're like 250 questions, so it takes a very, very long time, and you have to study a lot. So those are the only free certification I'm gonna keep until I retire from working, but everything else I can let go. I think PMP is very important because really everything is a project, and you need to learn how to lead and manage a project. And sometimes, again, you may not have any direct reports, that's okay, but you need to be able to influence everybody else that has the resources you need, all of the stakeholders, keep them informed so that this project is successful, right? You need to think about how long it's going to take and then the budget. So business skill, that's another reason why I decided to get a MBA as well. Again, not everybody in cybersecurity has to be technical. Yeah, technical, yeah, that is fine, that's a given, but you also have business skill, you also have people skill, leadership skill, being able to communicate and really be successful, being able to accomplish the mission of your organization and being able to work with other people, even those so-called quote unquote difficult people, right? Being able to get work out of them too. So that's why I think PMP was great.
And you don't need a PMP to be a project manager. I'm just saying that is a path.
No.
I mean, for instance, you have a team project in your class, and you step up to be the lead. You're doing project management, okay? And so I would think use that as an avenue of developing your leadership skills in addition to maybe getting a role someplace, even taking on a project at a nonprofit. So
yes.
Yeah, sales could potentially even be an entry point to. I mean, if you have those kind of skills to these careers. So anyway, Bob, thank you. We're just at 7 o'clock now. Thank you so much. I'm so glad.
Yes, and and in the chat, I have put a couple of the article I have written about cyber security and or leadership. Again, please follow me on LinkedIn and there is one more I wanted to add about the master key to success. Let me see if I can find that one really quick. LinkedIn, this was mentorship. Sometimes Google is much faster than going on LinkedIn and trying to find anything. Yeah, here it is. Google found it for me, and this is the last link I want to add here. I think it is good for you guys to think about it. Find a mentor, and the first one I put in is about diversity and inclusion in cyber security. But to tell you the truth, I wrote this, I think it was 4 years ago. I was crying when I wrote that article because IT is just not diverse enough. Even in Silicon Valley, you would think of all the places, Silicon Valley would be the most diverse place, but it really is not. Again, things are getting better, but we are not quite where we need to be. The next one is how to become a cybersecurity professional. I wrote that one for Forbes. And then the next one, I believe, is a podcast that wasn't created by me, but by artificial intelligence based on the previous article. It is really fun to listen to.
Cool.
And then I have 2 articles on tricksters. One of them is how to lead a cybersecurity function in an engineering-centric organization. And then the other one, 3 lessons I learned about leadership as a commander in the US Navy. And then the very last one is mentorship, master key to success. I really wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have good mentors, people I trusted and who really took the time to impart their knowledge to me. And finally, again, my LinkedIn profile, please follow me and reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will get back to you within 24 hours for sure. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Really great to be back here.
Thank you. Thank you. And Sarah and I will work on making sure that these links are accessible when we share the recording as well.
Absolutely. And just a quick heads up for those of you who are here, next Tech Talk is November 21st, and the topic is still in the works, but we will let you know as soon as we have that nailed down. Bob, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such a great presentation, so much knowledge.
Thank you.
I'm excited. I want to become a cybersecurity analyst now.
Which is yes, you can.
Well, take care, everyone. And thank you, Riley and Nubodin for joining us. We appreciate it. Okay, take care, everyone.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.